Here are my five top albums, and I preface this by saying that it's pretty hard to pick a top five. It's an impossible question. I thought today I'd go with four old and one new. So the first album is Pink Floyd's Animals. It's my favourite Pink Floyd album, and look, I could have built a case to put a couple of more Pink Floyd albums in the top five, but I'll go with Animals. Animals is definitely my favourite Pink Floyd album. Why is that? Well, when I first heard it as a teenager, I had been recently introduced to Pink Floyd, and I was starting to explore. And when I was a teen, you couldn't just go on YouTube and check different artists' albums out. You had to go to the record store and buy them and take a bit of potluck. And Animals was, I think, the third Pink Floyd album I'd heard at that point. And it just felt really different. I love the way the anger of the lyrics is conveyed as well in the music. And although I didn't really understand the subtlety and the nuance of the metaphor Roger was using, I had read Animal Farm, so I got the fact he was using those caricatures. What I probably didn't understand so well at the time was the way it related to the English political and social scene at the time. But I loved it, and I still love it. It still makes me feel every time I listen to the album. My next top album is Back in Black by AC/DC. Now, it's an excellent album, but what I think makes it really special for me is if you think about the idea of AC/DC, who were a very, very successful and popular band with their previous singer, Bon Scott, who unfortunately passed away. It's pretty amazing that a band could get a new lead singer who had quite a different vocal style, Brian Johnson, to what Bon Scott had, and produced their most fabulously successful album at that time. And what an amazing achievement, and it still holds up today. There's some great tracks on that album. My next top five album is 5150 by Van Halen. And in some ways it's a similar story in that the band had changed lead singers from David Lee Roth to Sammy Hagar. But the reason I love this one so much is it takes me back to, again, when I was a teen. The first time I heard it on headphones, and I just never heard anything like it. Just the sound of the guitars and how it sounded in stereo, and Eddie's amazing playing. And it turned me into an instant Van Halen fan. And from there I explored much more of the older David Lee Roth stuff. But I've always been a big Sammy Hagar era Van Halen fan too. And if you listen to 5150 now, gee, it's got some banging tracks on it. It's a wonderful album. My fourth top five album is The Swing by INXS. This was the first album I ever owned. Again, if you listen to The Swing by INXS from start to finish, there are no bad tracks on that album, and I would happily listen to it start to finish today without any hesitation at all. A wonderful album. INXS were, for me, a wonderful band, my favourite band when I was a teen in high school. And my last album in the top five is one I suspect not many people will have heard of, but worth checking out. It's very modern. It's only come out in the last year or so, and it's called Noah Forever. And it is by an American band called Noah. And Noah it's two artists. It's Lewis Cole, drummer, Genevieve Artadi, vocalist. And they've written an album of incredible songs. What makes Noah so special for me is just the musical sensibility and sophistication. To describe the music, it's like rock, jazz, funk fusion with some pretty subversive and funny lyrics. A highlight track off this album is one called I'm the President, which I just think is really, really funny and a bit of a commentary on the modern times that Americans find themselves in. They have some killer session musicians who come and play live, and this album's been recorded in Lewis Cole's house, and not in his home studio, as in like in his kitchen and in his lounge room. And he's got an orchestra in the driveway. Sorry, an orchestra in the lounge room and a choir in the driveway. And some of the sounds are deliberately quite lo-fi, particularly what he's getting out of his drum kit. But it's quite special music and played by virtuoso artists, featuring Australia's own Ray Thistlethwaite on keyboards. And he's the lead singer of Thirsty Merc, and a lot of you may not know he is a killer keyboard player. Anyway, worth checking out, Noah Forever by Noah. That's my top five.